Alright, so the new trailer for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was just released, and I decided to go back and rewatch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse from 2018. Yeah, so this video will mostly be a review for that, but towards the end of the video, I will actually talk a little bit about that new trailer, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, this film is directed by Bob Persietti. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Probably not. Peter Ramsey and Rodney Rothman. Screenplay by Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman. And if you're confused thinking that this movie was directed by Lord and Miller, uh, that's what I thought going into it as well. Uh, just for some context, I wasn't really reviewing movies when this movie came out, so I never really looked at the cast, or maybe not the cast, but like the writers and directors specifically, to see that it's not actually directed by them. It's written by one of them, but it's actually produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, which, if you're not familiar with the pair, they've done films such as the Lego Movie and most recently The Mitchells versus the Machines, which both of those movies people have, you know, given high praise to because of their very unique styles of animation. This film in particular, Into the Spider-Verse, is just one of those films included in that list. I think we wouldn't have gotten a movie like Mitchell's versus the Machines from them if not for this movie here. And the reason the animation in here is so groundbreaking is not only because they do a lot of different styles of animation, but this movie, to me personally, feels the most like a comic book, like any comic book movie has ever felt. You have the little dots on the characters and like on the screen to make it feel like a classic comic book page. It feels like the classic style of a comic book, but you also, I don't know, it's kind of weird. You almost have the 3D and 2D at the same time. And you have the like, how do you describe it? Like the almost CGI animation, you have the cartoon animation, you have the hand drawn animation, you have all sorts of different types, and it's just it shouldn't work, but it really does. And they just embrace it. They embrace the madness, and I think that's one of the reasons this movie works so well. But yeah, let me get into the cast here. I forgot to even mention that. We have Shamik Moore as Miles Morales. We have Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker. We have Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy. Mahershala Ali as Uncle Aaron. Who else do we have here? Brian Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis, the father to Miles Morales. We have Luna Lauren Velez as Rio Morales, the mother to Miles Morales. We got John Mulaney, a very great stand-up comedian that I like very much, playing Spider-Ham, a pig version of Spider-Man. Who else do we have here? Kimiko Glenn as Penny Parker, which is kind of a kind of Japanese anime version of a female kind of Spider-Man, Peter Parker type of thing. Let me see here. Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir, which is basically, a black and white Spider-Man. And he's very fun in here. And I always forget how to actually pronounce this guy's name. Is it Liev Schreiber? Sharber? I forget. I'm sorry. As Wilson Fisk / Kingpin. Very famous, very popular Spider-Man villain there. We have Zoe Kravitz, who played Catwoman in The Batman. You can find that review on my channel, which just came out a couple days ago. She plays Mary Jane. We have Catherine Hahn as Doc Ock. Chris Pine as another version of Peter Parker. Lily Tomlin as Aunt May. Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099, which is a bit of a spoiler there. That's in the after credit scene, but that's in the trailer for Across the Spider-Verse, so oh well. Stan Lee cameos as himself. Who else? Jorma Tacone as Green Goblin. Joaquin Cosio as Scorpion. Melvin Jones III as Tombstone. Lake Bell as Vanessa Fisk. And that's pretty much all. But yeah, very big voice cast here. A lot of very big characters. And I imagine with Across the Spider-Verse, it's going to take like half the video, if not more, just to like get through all the cast members. But yeah, I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, love seeing all the different styles of animation in this movie, and seeing all the different versions of Spider-Man and Spider-Woman and whatnot. There's a lot of different fun versions in here. I would say, for the most part, you stick with the main three. You get the most from the main three. Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, Spider-Man Noir. you get the least from them, but they're still fun to have in there. They're added in there to have extra Spider-Man to kind of like, I don't know, make it more of a Spider-Verse type of movie. It makes sense why they're there. They're fun to have there. They don't cheapen the experience by any means, but they don't get as much of the focus. The Spider-Men and women that get the most focus in here is Miles Morales, obviously, Peter B. Parker, played by Jake Johnson, and Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy. Which, speaking of which, let's not let's not even ignore the fact that there are so many actors in here that have been in Marvel already, like Haley Steinfeld, who played Kate Bishop in Hawkeye, right there, poster. Yeah, she's been in Marvel. She's in the MCU. Mahershala Ali, some of you might not know. What was his name? I think his character's name was Cottonmouth, but he didn't like to be called Cottonmouth. But he was in Luke Cage. He was one of the villains. Very great villain in there. And will also be playing Blade soon in the MCU. But let me see here. Who else? Brian Tyree Henry. Believe the name of his character in Eternals was Phastos. So yeah, he was also in the MCU. I don't. No, Nicolas Cage hasn't been in the MCU. But Leif Schreiber, again, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Not necessarily in the MCU, but he has been in Marvel. He was in X-Men Origins Wolverine as Wolverine's brother. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Zoe Kravitz in one of the X-Men movies as well? I think I can't remember her character's name because she really didn't stick around long, but I think she was in X-Men First Class, I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. Stan Lee, needless to say. Oscar Isaac, Moon Knight. I don't know if I mentioned Catherine Hahn already, but Catherine Hahn, she was in WandaVision. Going to be getting her own show soon. Don't think Chris Pine has been in Marvel, so I think that pretty much covers it. But yeah, lots of actors in here that have been in Marvel properties. I could even be, forgetting about some of these actors that have been in other Marvel stuff outside of the MCU. But yeah, let me see some other notes here. I think there's something for everybody in this movie in terms of a superhero fan, in terms of a Marvel fan, in terms of a Spider-Man fan, in terms of an animation fan. If you're a fan of any of those things, there's going to be something in here for you. Especially if you're an animation fan, because this movie, and I know this is a kid's movie technically since it's animated, but it's like an orgasm on the screen for somebody who's a fan of animation. But yeah, with all the different styles in here, it's just there's so many different things to appreciate, even the subtle moments, even the like small things that you really don't think would matter. Like towards the end of the movie, there was this random scene where just a cop car was pulling away, and for whatever reason, like that shot there, I was just like, that looks beautiful. And that's something you really don't get a whole lot with live action movies nowadays, where you're just like, yeah, this shot of just this car pulling away is beautiful. Like with this animation here, it's able to tell so much more of a story. It's able to do so much more. There's so much more detail you're able to put into it, because you're basically building it from the ground up, and I love that about animation. But yeah, there's one specific moment there. Like there's a lot of moments in here. I mean, obviously it's a Marvel movie. There's a lot of like Easter eggs and stuff, but there's a lot of blink and you miss it kind of moments in here with the details. Like one in particular, Peter B. Parker and Miles Morales are trying to escape this one facility. Miles has the bagel in his hand, throws it at somebody, it hits them. And you know how the comic book thing, like when somebody gets hit, it's like pow, bang, whatever. It just says bagel. And I'm just like, I just love that shit. Like, it's little shit like that that just makes me love this movie. I just love the attention to detail. I love how much fun they're having with it. And it's because Sony gave these writers and directors so much creative freedom that they normally wouldn't give to people, because they really didn't have any expectations for this movie. Which, expectations is actually a really big theme in this movie, which I'll get to in a second. But, like, they didn't have expectations for it whatsoever. So they just let them have the free reign over the script, over just like everything, they were able to do whatever they wanted with it. And I think that inevitably is why it was so successful, is because you didn't have the studio meddling with it like they often do with so many other movies like this. Um, there's so many cases of studios just going in and changing so many different things, but luckily they really didn't have to deal with that, which is very rare in this line of business here. But yeah, let me see some other notes. Yeah, great to finally see Miles Morales on the big screen, even if it isn't in live action yet, which I'm sure, honestly, personally, I feel like that's where these movies might be leading to, is actually seeing him come into the live action. But I could be wrong. I do think it's just a matter of time before we see that character come into the live action. Excuse me. So, again, excuse me. Jeez, terrible time to get hiccups. But yeah, uh, I believe I watched this movie in the theaters like 3 times. I've seen this movie so many times, I lost count at this point. It's a really easy movie to just put on and watch and enjoy. And, there's just so many different colors and just, for somebody who has ADHD personally, there's a lot to keep you entertained. So I appreciate that. Yeah, let me see here. The most a comic book. Oh, I already said that. Great soundtrack. Didn't mention that yet. There's a lot of songs in here. Like, I'm not a huge fan of rap, to be completely honest, but there's a lot of songs in here that are mostly like rap, R&B, hip hop that I really do enjoy. What's the one I like? What's Up Danger? That one's awesome. That one gets me pumped up. That just, if you've watched the movie, the scene along with that song, it's one of the best scenes in the movie. But yeah, I mean, the music, and that's what I love about music in movies like this, is that they can use the music to elevate the scene. It's something that what's the director I'm thinking of? Edgar Wright. That's something that he does in a lot of his movies with Baby Driver. That movie in particular, I think, he uses the music to tell a story in a particular scene and set the mood, and it works. Whereas in a lot of other movies, the song is just kind of there. Like in Suicide Squad, it feels like, not the Suicide Squad, the one that James Gunn did, but the first one. It felt like somebody just put their iPod on shuffle, and it was, there's so many movies I've seen where the music just, it doesn't feel like they paid any attention to detail for that aspect. And for me personally, if I were trying to write a movie, it's weird, but like, I've written some stuff before, and my writing process usually starts with the music. The music sets the tone for me, and it sets the tone that I want for writing. So I think the music is, personally for me, one of the first things that I try to think of when it comes to writing something original. But yeah, let me see here. I'm trying to just kind of filter through the things that I already mentioned. I mean, great story for sure. That's needless to say. I think it has a really great story to it. Um, there's one aspect in particular, and I'll mention that expectations thing that I was kind of mentioning. There's one aspect in this movie that I really love. I mean, there's a lot of aspects in this movie I love. I have little to no complaints. Honestly, I don't even think I have a single complaint to say about this movie. Maybe I can fester up something, but there's particular scenes in this movie where Miles is at school, and there's one particular montage where he's just going back and forth between classes, basically running. And on his desk he has like a stack of books that, like, while sitting, is taller than him. And I'm just like, I love how it shows how some students can be overworked these days, especially in the setting where he's in this like advanced school, and the expectations for students like that are so much higher than like a typical public school like the ones I went to. And I don't know. Like, I don't have a whole lot else to say about that particular subject, but I just love seeing that representation on the screen of showing how students can be overworked these days. And, people, especially adults, like to say, oh, kids just don't like to get homework. Like, no, it's good for them to actually be able to, like, engage in their other interests and not constantly be, like, overwhelmed with shit they don't need to be overwhelmed with, okay? So yeah, if I were a teacher, I wouldn't give out homework. I mean, I would give it out, but just like not as much as some teachers. Okay, um, yeah. So there you go. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. There is an after credit scene, which I kind of spoiled for you what showed up there, but it is a fun scene. I didn't say exactly what happens in the scene, so if you haven't watched the movie, hopefully I didn't ruin it for you. So yeah, I think I can go ahead and talk about that trailer now. The trailer for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm not sure if it's an official trailer or a teaser trailer. I think it's an official trailer, but we had like some sort of teaser trailer like, I don't know, last year or the year before. But yeah, I'm not gonna like get into a super deep breakdown or anything like that. There's plenty of other channels covering that. 3C Films, you know, New Rockstars is always a good one. However, I don't think New Rockstars has their breakdown up yet, but I'm sure it will be up by the time this video is up, if not, you know, the same day. But let me see here. There's a lot of Spider-Man, that's for sure. A lot of Spider-Man and woman. There's a lot of them that I could mention. I won't lie to you. I don't know a whole lot of Spider-Men or Spider-Women outside of Miles Morales and Peter Parker. Um, those are the two main ones that I really know a whole lot about. I know that Spider-Punk is supposed to be in the movie, played by Daniel Kaluuya, I believe. And then obviously Spider-Man 2099, played by Oscar Isaac. From the trailer alone, it looks like there's supposed to be a bit of a Spider-Man Civil War, so that looks insane. It looks, and again, sorry, hopefully there's no kids watching, but it looks like a big clusterfuck of Spider-Man. So that looks fun. But yeah, the one Spider-Man, or Spider-Man in particular, the one kind of little Easter egg cameo that I wanted to mention is the Spider-Man PS4 suit that I saw. And I thought it would be really cool if Yuri Lowenthal, who voices Peter Parker / Spider-Man in the Spider-Man PS4 and Spider-Man Miles Morales game, would show up and bring his voice to that role. Who knows if it'll happen, but I think that would be very awesome. Yeah, he's honestly, I would say he's my favorite version of Spider-Man. I know that's a crazy thing to say with Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield. I think all three of them are great. Tobey Maguire is the one that I grew up with. But just in terms of feeling the most like the comics, feeling the most comic accurate, feeling the most like Spider-Man, Yuri Lowenthal is definitely one of my favorites, at least when it comes to Peter Parker. But yeah, the movie in general just looks insane. I'm very much excited for it, but I'm also cautiously optimistic about it. If you watch my top 10 most anticipated of 2023 video, you'll know that it's not up, it's not super close to that number one spot. It's because I'm wondering if they can capture lightning in a bottle twice. This movie I would say is one of my favorite Spider-Man movies, if not my favorite. Into the Spider-Verse in particular is what I'm talking about. So it's going to be really tough to top it, but we'll see if they're able to do it. It just feels like they're going really, really, really big, like really quick. And I feel like this is the point, just from the trailer alone, that they probably should have waited to get to that third movie for, and just like established, Miles in kind of his own setting first before moving on. Because I would like to see more of Miles just kind of be on the streets of Brooklyn or, on the streets of New York in general in his universe and just see him be Spider-Man, be the only Spider-Man for a while, because we didn't really get to see a whole lot of that in Into the Spider-Verse. So maybe we'll get that eventually. Who knows? Maybe we'll get some of that in Across the Spider-Verse. I just don't think there's going to be a whole lot of that in there. And, I love the fact that we're going to see the Spider-Verse. I love the fact that they're going big and ambitious. I'm just a little worried because there is a track record, and since the last one was successful and Sony didn't have high expectations for it, they probably have high expectations for this one now, especially after that one won a literal Oscar award. So it worries me that Sony is going to, put their little grubby fingers in the pot and try to like change things around because they think they know better, and typically they don't. So I'm a little worried, but at the same time I'm very excited to see where the story goes next. So yeah, have you watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse from 2018? What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? I personally love this movie. In terms of my film ranking system here, premium ticket, standard ticket, discounted ticket, free ticket. It's not in theaters anymore, but if it was, I would give this a premium ticket for sure. Worth the price of admission plus paying extra for maybe for IMAX or 3D if they offered it. But yeah, if it were on streaming, kind of same rules apply. I would give this a premium subscription. But yeah, definitely check this movie out if you have not watched it. And if you haven't watched it, are you planning on watching it anytime soon or before the next movie comes out? Why or why not? Comment that down below. Really, anything you want to comment, I would love to hear from you. And have you watched the trailer for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the new trailer? What did you think about that? Comment that down below. Give me any thoughts on that. Give me any theories. Really anything and everything. I just realized in the shadow, my hair looks kind of weird. I need a haircut, that's for sure. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I will see you in the next one.